Imagine you're a single-celled organism drifting through ancient oceans a few billion years ago. Food is scarce, predators are non-existent, and your biggest decision is whether to grow or hunker down and wait. That decision between growth and conservation is the original fork in the biological road. And out of that evolutionary dilemma emerged two of the most powerful cellular regulators of aging, TOR and AMPK. These are not trendy acronyms invented by scientists to sound clever. They're ancient, deeply conserved, and quietly running the background software of life itself. And they've been shaping survival strategies from yeast to humans ever since. Nutrient sensing, basically the cell's ability to know when there's enough energy to grow versus when it should switch to stress survival mode, is a core part of what keeps organisms alive in unpredictable environments. You can think of TOR, target of rapamycin, as the green light. When nutrients are abundant, TOR turns on, encouraging the cell to grow, build proteins, and reproduce. This is great when resources are plentiful, but it's also risky, because too much growth during scarcity leads to stress, damage, and death. Enter AMPK, AMP-activated protein kinase, TOR's more cautious cousin. AMPK is the red flag. It flips on when energy levels drop, like during fasting, exercise, or cellular stress, and signals the cell to conserve energy, repair damage, and pause luxury projects like division and growth. It's the biochemical equivalent of a survivalist tucking away resources for winter. And evolution has loved it. These two systems, TOR and AMPK, didn't evolve in opposition but in dialogue. Together, they create a dynamic tension between growth and maintenance, reproduction and repair, feast and famine. That balance is at the heart of evolutionary fitness, the ability to survive long enough to reproduce without burning out early. What's incredible is that these pathways are so ancient and essential that they've been conserved in everything from fish and yeast to fruit flies to mammals. They are the metabolic regulators, not just for daily life, but for how organisms handle aging over time. From an evolutionary perspective, organisms that could sense energy availability and toggle between metabolic modes had a major advantage. In times of abundance, rapid growth and reproduction ensured genetic success. But in times of scarcity, switching to AMPK-driven conservation allowed for stress resistance, DNA repair, and survival through harsh conditions. This evolutionary flexibility, this metabolic plasticity, was more valuable than any single genetic mutation. It allowed organisms to ride out the lean years without falling apart. Here's where it gets interesting for us humans, comfortably living in a world of constant caloric plenty. Our nutrient-sensing systems are still wired for famine. mTOR is constantly nudged by high-protein diets, insulin surges, and growth signals. AMPK, on the other hand, often sits idle because modern life rarely simulates the energy stress it evolved to detect. The result? A skewed metabolic environment. Too much growth, too little repair, and an accelerated march toward age-related diseases like cancer, diabetes, and neurodegeneration. And this is where the connection between evolutionary biology and aging becomes crystal clear. Aging, from one perspective, is the long-term consequence of favoring TOR over AMPK for too long. It's the biological bill that comes due when the cell overinvests in growth without making time for cleanup. Animals that live longer, like certain rodents or birds, often have lower baseline mTOR activity and higher stress resistance mechanisms. Even within species, interventions that reduce TOR, like caloric restriction or rapamycin, or activate AMPK, like fasting, exercise, or caffeine, tend to delay aging and extend lifespan. This is why researchers are obsessed with these pathways. They are not superficial regulators. They are the evolutionary control panels of life and longevity. And because they are so ancient and fundamental, tweaking them even slightly can lead to profound changes in health span. So the next time you fast, exercise, or drink a cup of black coffee, realize you're not just chasing a six-pack or a productivity boost. You're activating systems that were honed across eons to manage energy wisely, survive under stress, and preserve function. TOR and AMPK aren't just signaling molecules, they're molecular expressions of life's oldest question: do I grow now, or do I survive longer? And in the quiet wisdom of evolution, sometimes the best way to thrive is to pause, repair, and wait for the storm to pass. That's how cells and species earn the right to live longer.